This is the question of kinematics. The question is the displacement of a particle. The displacement of a particle is given by x equals to t minus 2 raised to 2. The displacement of particle x equals to t raised to 2 t minus 2 raised to 2. Okay. X is in meter, where x is meter and t is in the second. X is in meter and t is in the second. The distance covered by particle in first 4 seconds. That is the important point. The distance covered by particle. The distance covered by particle in first 4 seconds. In first 4 seconds is A option, B, C and D meter. Okay. For this question, we have to find out the distance covered in first 4 seconds. And the equation is given. The equation says that the displacement of a particle x equal to t raised to 2, t minus 2 raised to 2. Okay. This is the displacement. But we have to need the distance. Okay. So this problem can be calculated by the graph method. Okay. We are solving by the graph method. So x equals to t minus 2 raised to 2. Okay. This is the displacement. Okay. So you can say differentiate both sides. D by dt of x equals to d by dt. D by dt means d by dt of t minus 2 raised to 2. Okay. So d by dt of variable power constant equals to constant into variable raised to variable minus 1. Sorry, constant into variable raised to constant minus 1 into d by dt of variable. Variable is the t minus 2. Equal to 2 times of constant variable t minus 2 raised to 2 minus 1, which will be equals to 1, into d by dt of variable. Variable is what? T minus 2. So differentiate t minus 2. So d by dt of t equals to 1 minus d by dt of 2 equals to 0. Okay. Equal to 2 times of t minus 2. So this is the d by dt of t minus 2 raised to 2 equal to 2 times of t minus 2. Now this value is 2 into t minus 2. Okay. So d by dt of displacement. So d by dt of displacement is what? Equals to velocity, not a distance. So d by dt of displacement equals to velocity. Okay. So velocity v equal to 2 into t minus 2. Okay. So we are trying to find out by the graph method. Okay. So this is the velocity, and this is the time. Okay. So this is the velocity and time. So y equals to constant into y equals, this, let us suppose y equals to constant, let us suppose m into x minus 2. This type of equations. So we are trying to find out this type of equations is what? This is the linear equations. Okay. Because variable t is the independent variable, v is the dependent variable. So this raised to 1 and this raised to 1. In rather we can say this equation will be type ax plus by plus c equal to 0. ABC is the constant, x and y will be the variable. So you can say y equals to m times of x minus 2. If t equals to 0, so 0 minus 2 equals to minus 2. Minus 2 into 2 equals to minus 4. So that number equals to minus 4 number. Okay. Because velocity, so this is the opposite. So this value will be the minus 4. Okay. And if velocity will be 0, this is the velocity and this is the time. If velocity will be the 0, if time will be 0, that number, if velocity will be 0. So any point on t-axis will be, velocity must be 0. If velocity equal to 0, then time t equal to 2. So at time t equals to 2, this is the 2, this is the 2 number, time t equal to 2 number, this is the v, velocity v equals to minus 4, okay. And we have to need the first 4 second, means this is the 0 second, first 4 second means this is the 4 second, so t equals to 4, 0 to 4, okay. So at 0 to 4, at t equal to 4, at t equals to 4, 4 minus 2 equals to 2, 2 into 2 equals to 4, so velocity will be equals to 4, imply that you can say velocity must be a 4, velocity must be a 4, this is the velocity, velocity must be a 4. So this is the linear, so that it will must be a line, imply that you can say that is this type of a graph. A rough idea of graph will be this type. A rough idea of graph will be the this type. This is the 4 and this is the 4. This is the 4. Okay. This number equals to at t equal to 4 second, because we have to need the distance in first 4 second. Distance in first 4 second. So 0 and 4. 0 and 4. Okay. First 4 second means we have to need the distance in first 4 second, not a displacement in first 4 second. Okay. We have to need distance in first 4 second. Okay. So for the distance, if we make the graph, velocity and time, so always remember that that will be the area, let us suppose at t equal to 0 second, at t equals to t naught second, so area must be, that is the a1 area, that is the a2 area, that is the a3 area. If down the time axis, then that will be the negative. If above the time axis, that will be the positive. If above the time axis, that will be the positive. Okay. So the product of velocity and time, is known as the displacement. So we can say if we trying to find the distance, means distance for that, this is the concept, distance equals to from 0 to t naught, equals to, this is the a1 is the positive, no problem, or we can say we are taking the mod a1 for distance and a2 mod of a2, if value will be the, that is a2, or you can say this is the, let us suppose a1 and plus a2, this is the negative, but we are taking the positive because this is the down the time axis. So distance equals to plus a2, not a minus a2, and plus a3. But for the displacement, that is the 0 to t naught, equals to a1 minus a2 or plus a3. That is the important point. This is the plus a2, this is the minus a2. For displacement minus a2, for distance equals to plus a2. So this is the area. Okay. The area will be what? This is the velocity and time. This concept will be always apply for the velocity will be y-axis and time will be the x-axis. If time will be that number, then velocity will be that number. So area will be covered under the that number. Here area will be covered according to the that number. Okay, that way must be only the area. Okay. So you can say we have to need the area. Area will be what? Okay. This is the velocity and time. We have to need the distance, not a displacement. Distance from 0 to 4 second. Okay. We have to need the distance from 0 to 4 second. We have to need the distance from 0 to 4 second, which will be equals to. That must be the area. We are trying to find out that area. That what is area? This is the 2 and this is the minus 4. That number equal to minus 4. So that is the 4 distance, and that is the 2 distance. That is the right angle triangle. This is the 90 degree. Time axis, velocity axis, angle 90. So this is the right angle triangle. Area will be 1 by 2 base into altitude. which will be equals to 1 by 2, 4 into 2. That value will be the 4. Okay, that will be value of 4, and that is what value equals to. Also, that is the right angle triangle, because we are trying to find out that the perpendicular 90 degree. So 1 by 2, 2 into 4. So that value will be the 1 by 2, 2 into 4 equals to, that number also will be the 4. Okay, but we have to need the distance. Distance will be the what? That is the 4 and 4. So that is the 4 plus 4 equals to 8 meter. I think whose option will be correct? That is the 8 meter. Okay, so B option will be the correct. Okay, if a require the displacement will be what? Equals to 0. Displacement which will be equals to 0. Why you can say displacement equals to 0? Because this is the minus 4 and this is the plus 4, then minus 4 plus 4 equals to 0. So that you can say that is the displacement in first 4 second equal to 0, but displacement in first 4 second, distance in first 4 second equal to 4 plus 4 equals to 8 meter. Okay. This question is also kinematics questions. The question is the for one dimensional motions described by x equal to t minus sine of a t. X equal to t minus sine of t. We have to find out these four options. These options must be more than one correct. So A option will be xt is the positive for all t is the positive. Okay, t is the independent variable and x is the dependent variable. Okay, x is the displacement and t is the time. X is the displacement and t is the time. Okay, so velocity positive for all t positive, accelerations is positive for all t positive, velocity is lies between 0 to 2. So this questions is more than, maybe more than one option will be correct. So question is the x is the displacement, x equals to t minus sine of t. X is the displacement. We have to need the informations velocity and accelerations, and displacement which will be equals to t minus sine of a t. X is the displacement. Okay, so you can say for one dimensional motions, okay, we have to need the r vector. R is the displacement vector. If we differentiate the dr vector by dt, then that vector will equals to velocity vector. Okay, if we differentiate the velocity vector, or we can say if we double differentiate our position vector, then d2 r by dt2 equals to dv vector by dt equals to acceleration vector. Okay, that is the important point, vector. But here in this question is given the one dimensional motions. Okay, so in one dimensional motion vector can be removed. Okay, let us suppose that is the in x direction. So in if plus x direction I cap in all terms, if minus x direction then I cap minus I cap in all terms, plus y axis plus j cap plus z axis plus k cap. Okay, so we are taking the mode, imply that we can say normally we are not using the vector point. So you can say dx by dt, dx by dt, that is the velocity equal to differentiate time d by dt of t, and that number, this is the cos t. So that is the velocity equals to 1 minus cos of t. Okay, in these questions, in A option will be the displacement xt is positive for all t is positive. Xt is positive for all t is the positive. So xt is positive. Xt is the what? Displacement. So x equals to given t minus sine of a t. Okay. We know that the sine t, the value of sine t will be oscillating value which is lie from -1 to +1. -1 to +1. Sine t will be lie -1 to +1. T is the positive. So that number is the positive. We are trying for the first t is the positive. For t is the positive, but that number will be the sine t. Sine t will be the -1 to +1. Okay. So xt is the positive for all t positive. Add for all t positive. Okay. If t positive, so xt is the positive. 1 minute. So here x equals to t minus sine of a t. Okay. We are discussion about the xt is positive and t positive. Check here. T y equals to x equal to t is the that number, and this is the sine. This is the sine number. Let us suppose that sine function, and this is the sine function. Okay. So you can say that is the t is always sine t if t is the positive. T at that number, t is the positive. In this questions, t is the positive. For xt is the positive. So this is the x equal to t, and here x equal to sine t. If t is positive, then you can say always. If t is the positive, then you can say always sine t is less than t, or you can say t is greater than sine of t. Okay. So t is greater than sine t, so x is the positive. So that number must be a positive number. So xt is the positive for t is the positive. Okay. Okay. Only we have to compare the two functions. First function is the linear function, second function is the trigonometric function. The trigonometric function will be the sine function, means x equal to sine of a t. Another function will be linear function, x equals to t. So x equal to t is a straight line which is passing through the origin. That function, this is the trigonometric functions. Okay. In this A option, this A option, t is positive, so xt is the positive. A option will be correct. So we are coming for the B option. B option, v equal to 1 minus, B option, v equals to 1 minus that number. Okay. So for B options, t is the positive. T is the positive. So in this questions, vt is the positive. In this questions, vt is the positive. For t is the positive. Okay. If t is the positive, then if vt is the positive, then vt is the positive. This point will be correct or incorrect? Okay, tell me. T is the positive, then vt is the positive or negative? So 1 minus sine t. If t is the positive, that function will be lie from 0 to -1 to 1. -1 to 1. Okay. That function will be lie from -1 to 1. But we know that t is positive. T is any real number. Cos t is always -1 to 1. But in this question, t is the positive, then cos t will be the -1 to 1. Okay. This is the oscillating value. Cos t will be always lie from -1 to 1. Okay. Means the minimum value of velocity which will be equals to 0. If cos t is the maximum 1, then 1 minus 1. If this is the maximum, then that value will be minimum. If this will be minimum, then that value will be maximum. Because in this point, cos t will be negative. So you can say V maximum. V maximum will be equals to cos t will be minimum. Minimum means -1. So 1 minus of -1 which will be equals to 2. Okay. So velocity minimum equals to 0 and velocity maximum equals to 2. So you can say Vt is the positive. Positive means greater than 2. So Vt is greater than 2 means you can say Vt is greater than 2, we can say that as not a Vt is positive. If exceeding value 2, that value cannot be exist. So B is not a correct. D is the correct option because in this question Vt is lie between 0 to 2. This is the correct value. Okay. So you can say D is the correct. Now we are coming in the form 80. 80 means differentiate of that function d by dt of v equals to accelerations. Acceleration equals to differentiate d by dt of 1 equals to 0, d by dt of cos t equals to sin t, minus d by dt of cos t equal to minus sin t. So minus of minus equals to plus. Imply that number a equal to sine of t. So that function equals to sine of a t. So acceleration equals to sine of t. So acceleration a equals to sine of a t. This is the sine function. Okay. If this is the sine function, implies that you can say if t is the positive, if t is the positive, if t is the positive, this is the sine function. If t is the positive, we are discussing about t is the positive. So sin t will be positive and negative both. Sin t will be positive and negative both value. This will be the negative. If t is the positive, then sin t will be positive or negative. Both can be exist. But in C option, a t must be positive for all t. Okay? So that is the incorrect. If t is lie between 0 to pi, then at must be a positive. If t is lie between आपका if t is lie between 2 pi to 3 pi, then vt is correct. Then आपका at is positive. If t is lie between pi to 2 pi, then at must be a negative. Okay. If t is lie between that numbers, okay, then that number will be a negative. So you can say C option will be incorrect. So only two options will be correct, A and